Alex here with, I guess, yeah, let's call it part three of the Kassenoff case. I finally ended up getting a copy of the complaint that was filed, the defamation complaint that was filed by Alan Kassenoff against Robert Harvey. I'm not sure that I talked much about Robert Harvey in my other two videos, but I do know that I got a bunch of comments from people saying, "Hey, Alex, have you done the, defamation complaint yet filed by Kassenoff?" And for the longest time, all I could find was articles, and it was only today that I found the actual complaint. So for some reason he filed it in federal court. So I'm gonna give you guys a disclaimer. This thing is way too long. It's 107 pages. I tried to go through it, and within 1 hour, I was barely through a fourth of it. So instead, I'm just gonna give you guys the highlights. I'm gonna give you the link to this, so if you want to, you can open it for yourself and read it. And there are a bunch of useful links in this document to TikTok videos from both the defendant and from people who are now criticizing the defendant. So, if anyone's really interested in this case, this document has links to even more things that'll be interesting to the people who are interested in this case. Yeah, he filed it in federal court. I noticed there was something mentioned in here about diversity jurisdiction, which I've heard about. It's a federal court thing. The extremely simplified nutshell version is that the parties are in different states and there's diversity, but it's way more complicated than that. And the last time I looked at it was when I worked at a law firm called, gosh, this was before I graduated college, called the People's Interest Law Firm. And they were filing a bunch of federal suits, I think, federal and state. I don't remember, but, oh no, I remember. They were filing a bunch of state suits, and then some of the defendants were filing removal to federal court and claiming diversity jurisdiction. That's the only place that I remember hearing of that concept, and I probably looked at it, back then. But so like I said, just going to give you guys a summary. The parties involved are Mr. Kassenoff himself and his three kids, two of them biological kids, one of them adopted. The reason I mention that is because this complaint does a whole lot on distinguishing the way that Ms. Kassenoff treated the bio kids versus the adopted kid. They spend a lot of time on that. Who knows, maybe 30, 40 pages worth. I feel like the facts of this complaint go into way too much detail. It reminds me of the Repsion complaint, which, by the way, guys, I don't blame Repsion. I never did. But sometimes attorneys do things that are weird to me. It's not the person's fault. I don't know why the attorney's doing that. But the attorney in this case is doing the same thing with these humongous, super detailed allegations that, in my opinion, appear to go way beyond just alleging what is necessary to support the claims. It's almost like they put together a book for everybody outside of the boundaries of the case to read through and learn about the case. It doesn't seem to me like this was meant for the judge. It's got TMI for a judge. And then they've also got pictures in here, and then they've got like copy paste. Here's an email copy paste. I don't know. There's even more. There's text message copy pastes, email copy pastes. There's screenshots, photographs. There's just a lot for a complaint, and super weird for Nevada. I do remember a case I covered with our Nevada judges where a judge got a complaint like this and he threw it out, struck the whole thing because he was like, "This is not meant for me. This was meant for the media," or something like that. And it's probably true. And this complaint, as I'm going through it, it also seems like it was meant for way more than the federal judge. I've heard of some special claims requiring super detailed allegations like fraud claims, but I'm not even sure that. I mean, this seems too much even for that. This is like a lot. Like, there's even some allegations here that are based off of a comment, which just blows my mind. Like, somebody does a video attacking Mr. Harvey, and then somebody posts a comment to that video, and that ends up in this complaint. And it makes me wonder, how on earth is that, like, relevant? And if it is relevant, how on earth is it necessary in the complaint, which is supposed to be like the simplest of simplest pleadings? Just, here's all the allegations, and that's it. And all this stuff usually comes out later, like in discovery, summary judgment, dismiss, motions to dismiss, etc., etc. Anyway, a whole lot of detail in here. It's almost like a short story, and it contains, it's kind of like Mr. Kassenoff wanted to like answer all of these allegations, and he did not want to do it on social media or with a website or with a statement. It's almost like he just kind of took all of his facts and shoehorned him into the public eye through a lawsuit. That's kind of like the vibe that I get from this. It's like, you know, here's all the stuff that's going on in the case, but it's okay because it's in this lawsuit. Versus if you posted it on social media, somebody might be like, you're exposing your kid's privacy. Well, you're exposing your kid's privacy in the lawsuit. In my opinion, this is kind of like a workaround for how you would look if you didn't do it this way. I get that. It just doesn't seem like the appropriate use of the court system to go into all this in just the complaint. But anyway, yeah, here's a photo, tons and tons of details about his ex. He's basically arguing that the Mr. Harvey lied about him, and in order for him to, in his mind, in order for him to argue about how he's being lied about, he first needs to set forth what the truth actually is. That's kind of the vibe I get. It seems to me like 3/4 of this complaint is just setting forth his story and the actual truth, and then the remaining 1/4 of the complaint is, hey, now that you guys know the truth, here's why everything that Mr. Harvey is saying is not true, and therefore I'm entitled to damages. There's a little bit more than just that. Like, for example, he mentioned some videos where Mr. Harvey specifically said to his 2 or 3 million, I don't know, subscribers, call this number, call CPS, call the police, call his boss, get him fired, call Samsung, get them to drop him as a client, etc., etc. So that kind of stuff does go above and beyond just lying. It's like, hey, everybody, let's, bug his employer until he fires him. And then there is some discussion in the complaint about how he actually did get forced to resign and how, some of the things that Mr. Harvey is alleged to have attempted to be doing, according to Mr. Kassenoff, those things were successfully done and damaged his life. And so that is the biggest nutshell version of what's going on. There's some reference to hearings in here. There's some reference to transcripts. There's some reference to how at the very, very, very end, it appears to Mr. Kassenoff that Mr. Harvey got worried he was going to get sued. In my opinion, the allegation is pretty compelling because the allegation says that Mr. Harvey did a video at the very, very end on Mr. Kassenoff where all of a sudden he started talking about fair coverage. Here's another website, fair coverage, which even though he doesn't say it in the complaint, to anyone who knows anything about this area of law, is going to jump out as the fair reporting privilege, the absolute immunity that is conferred to a news reporter who's covering a court case fairly. And so that allegation that Mr. Kassenoff is making makes a lot of sense to me. When I read it, I'm like, yeah, that does kind of look like this guy's doing that now. Now that he's worried about getting sued, he wants to benefit from the absolute immunity of covering a court case fairly. And here's his final video saying, go look at all this other stuff, all these other opinions. And stuff about how he read all the documents and all the filings and all the videos and based his opinion based on the review of everything and all that stuff. There's a little bit of talk in here also about public figure versus non-public figure. They're saying that Mr. Kassenoff is saying that he's not a public figure, and therefore the standard to sue on is a lot easier for him than it would be for like a politician who's a public figure. The stuff in here that's from third parties is, in my opinion, the most interesting, especially the ones that, like the nannies and stuff. There's some insight into how Ms. Kassenoff is alleged to have been treating the kids. There's some stuff in here about like a sting operation that she wanted to do against her ex-boyfriend before Mr. Kassenoff. Allegations that she really was upset that her ex-boyfriend was having such a happy life, and she wanted to lure this ex-boyfriend into a situation where she could record him and send the recording to his new wife and ruin his marriage. Later on, Mr. Kassenoff finding other evidence in his home that made him believe that all that was just a bunch of nonsense and she was just cheating on him. Well, I guess we're both cheating on their spouses and using that as some kind of cover for what she was actually trying to do. That stuff, to me, gives some insight. Of course, it's just an allegation, but it gives an insight to sort of the way that she's thinking and the way that she's decided to treat him once she's become his enemy, basically now trying to ruin his life and all this other stuff. What else? I'm just going to skim through this really quickly, guys. Yeah, so there's something else in here that discusses... Okay, so Mr. Kassenoff, and again, this is an allegation, he says that she was not suffering from cancer at all. Not terminal cancer, not any cancer. And that this is based on a discussion with her oncologist. And that's the end of that analysis. But the thing that I find troubling about this is that other parts of this complaint do not refute that she was assisted with her unaliving, can't use the word because it'll flag the video, by Switzerland. And those allegations, or he doesn't dispute that. So it would seem to me that there was some kind of assisted something from an actual country, and if she didn't have cancer, then why did that happen? But it doesn't go into that. It just says that that this notion that she was like on her deathbed is not true. And then there's also some stuff in here about how much money she was getting. She was getting a ton of money in the case, what they call sergeant fees in Nevada, litigation expenses, assistance with litigating, hundreds of six-figure sums, multiple six-figure sums from Mr. Kassenoff, and then she got a big chunk of money from the 9/11 Victims Fund, and then she also got a huge chunk of money from Mr. Kassenoff's E-Trade account or something. It was some kind of stock account or something. And it looks like to me that that's what Mr. Kassenoff is using to say, that she was asking for a whole bunch of money because she was broke when she really wasn't broke and she had a whole lot of money. And like a lot of this stuff is like borderline irrelevant and that kind of stuff. It's to me, it's like, here's all the things that I was accused of, and let's take advantage of this complaint and this court case to go through these one by one and refute all of these allegations. And that's why, to me, some of this stuff is like, is that really relevant? Or it's borderline relevant. It's kind of like really pushing the boundaries of what you're supposed to do in this lawsuit. It's like I said earlier, it's like he used his complaint as sort of a short story to get out his side of the story without looking like he was exposing his kids, even though he really is, because it's in the lawsuit and it's not sealed, which, as I've mentioned in the prior two parts of the video, parts 1 and part 2, I'm not really in favor of sealing because this stuff just ends up coming out anyway. And as much as this is a criticism of how I think Mr. Kassenoff is using the complaint, we all know that Ms. Kassenoff already put all the stuff out in the Dropbox anyway. She didn't even use a lawsuit. She just popped it into the public eye through the Dropbox. So let's move on past that. I mean, this case has just got a lot going on. What else? Yeah, here's some of the... Okay, so yeah, this is the criticism from the other TikToker. So this is another thing that's kind of... What word should I use? Annoying? It is a little annoying, sort of. I can't say it completely. So the reason I say that is because Mr. Kassenoff has been confronted, not in Fox News or CNN, not a major news outlet, but from a guy with a TikTok account. Yes, this person apparently did a lot of damage. I have to concede that. Ordinarily, to me, social media is not something that people just automatically believe. And a lot of times in social media, when somebody starts to go kind of off the reservation, other social media accounts will call them out on it. And that's what's going on here. So there's Robert Harvey and all of his allegations against Mr. Kassenoff. And then there's a bunch of other channels and exposés coming out on Robbie Harvey. So Mr. Harvey's already been confronted by the very same medium that he's used to attack Mr. Kassenoff. And it would be my preference, sort of as a member of society, that this stuff just stays out of the courtroom. Like, here's a social media person going nutty. Here's another social media person attacking them. Let them just beat it out on social media. Let's not annoy the judges with it. Now, I did say Mr. Kassenoff does seem to have a valid point because of very specific things that are going on. First of all, Harvey doesn't have just 80 subs. He has millions of subs. Second of all, Harvey, according to this guy, according to Mr. Kassenoff, Harvey said on his channel to millions of people to call and email and bug his boss and get him fired. That's a very specific thing that's very damaging to have done, which makes me sympathize more with Mr. Kassenoff. And then the last thing is that it was actually successful. He wasn't just bugging his boss. Apparently, according to Mr. Kassenoff, he did actually lose his job. So, just frustrating that social media keeps spilling into the court system, but at the same time, this case, based on the allegations that I've read, do seem to go way above and beyond the ordinary social media drama. So yeah, there's this other channel and there's links, like I was telling you guys. You can like right click and open. I'll go into it for like 10 seconds.
Okay, I've been sitting on this overnight because my internet wasn't working last night, which really pissed me off. But anyway, I was contacted by a woman last night who sent me a bunch of screenshots that are really damning against Robbie Harvey.
So you can get the basic idea is you guys, as you go through this, you can actually right click and open these links and you can go through and watch some of this other stuff. These counter narratives that are coming up that are confronting Mr. Harvey. And then there's some links to Mr. Harvey's videos as well. something in here about Mr. Harvey being a self-proclaimed narcissist who has become better, and having become better, he is now a voice for women. That just got my head really dizzy. I just couldn't believe that, but apparently he released a video and that's what he said, that he was a narcissist and is not anymore. So yeah, reading through this, I saw that, my eyes popped out, and I was like, okay, what the heck is this? So I don't know even how to comment on that. It just, okay. What's this? Harvey, the former media director. What? Wait, hold on. So he used to be a media director? I didn't know that either. Hold on, let me take a look at this super fast, guys. Apparently he was a media director for a personal injury firm, according to this. Huh. Okay. Didn't know that. Another interesting tidbit. I'm going to continue scrolling. I mean, like, this is so much detail for a complaint. This is an outrageous amount of detail. And, like, this is all in one allegation. Allegation 79. It has a paragraph and bullet points. I mean, even one little thing is wrong here and you deny the whole allegation. This is just, like, weird. Maybe there's a lawyer on this channel who can post a comment and say, no, Alex, this is normal. This is allowed. To me, this doesn't make sense. This level of detail. Let's continue. What's this? Oh, so this is a response from the firm. I mean, the fact that, like, I mean, it's triggering, like, comments and stuff from the actual firm. You can't deny that Mr. Harvey's social media presence did some damage. You just can't deny it when you see stuff like this. Usually it's just like somebody with thin skin gets butt hurt and it's like, dude, why are you bugging the courts? But this case looks like it's worth bugging the courts over. Though I'm not sure why it's in federal court. I don't know. Maybe an attorney can post a comment on that. Okay. All of the death threat messages he was getting. Yeah, so now, okay. Here's something about, like, a DM that I guess the plaintiff is purporting that his child sent these messages to Mr. Harvey. Mr. Harvey, I guess, claps back that he thinks it's Mr. Kassenoff using his child's account. I mean, that's just weird, I guess. Are we almost done yet? Scrolling. Yeah, so there's some stuff, there's some allegations. There's a few pages that are devoted to the attacks against his divorce lawyer, Mr. Demopoulos, and also attacks against his girlfriend. This here is an allegation by Mr. Kassenoff that Mr. Harvey was threatening him bodily harm because he posted this video of himself in New York. So it was kind of like, and then the comments on the video, which again, like, how do you hold Mr. Harvey liable for the comments that are being posted by his viewers? Just because these people are saying these things doesn't necessarily mean that Mr. Harvey is thinking that. But Mr. Kassenoff, I wonder if there's a link to this. Oh, there is. Maybe I should watch this one. Footnote 110. Let's see how long it is, guys. See what we think.
I've told you that I would not stop until something was done. I've told you that I would not stop until Alan Kassenoff, Gus Demopoulos, Mark Abrams, Carol Mose all answered. They sell children legally.
Okay,
right,
but...
I've got something exciting to show you guys. Hey, babe. She's relaxing. Take a look at this, Alan. Something really important to show you. It's a beautiful city.
Yeah, there was nothing threatening in that video. He's just saying he's in a city. I mean, that's like a real stretch to go from that to, I need... What is he? Does he ask for like a protective order? What's this all about? Threatening statement. Yeah, that's kind of weak sauce. Okay, the comments, sure, they're implying, hey, you should go get him, like physically, I guess. But okay, here we have. This is kind of funny. There's a part here where Mr. Kassenoff points out that the district attorney got mad at Mr. Harvey for posting this on his social media. Specifically, they didn't want their logo used, which is fair. What else do we have here? So then there's this stuff about the kids. There's allegations here that the kids suffered in school and stuff. I find this hard to believe. I'll talk about this more towards the end. Yeah, here's the defamation counts. So he spends a few counts on defamation by various means for himself and probably for Mr. Demopoulos. I hope I pronounced his name right. And then he spends 3 more separate counts. Oh, then he does a tortious interference with a business count, and then he spends 3 more cyber stalking count, which is it's a criminal thing, I think. In Nevada, it is. I don't know. Maybe it's civil in federal court. I don't know. And then there's supposed to be intentional infliction of emotional distress claims, 1 for each child. They're in here somewhere. Yeah. Okay. On behalf of all 3 kids. All right. Yeah. And then he at the very end prays for some relief. So the first 2 are a little. I mean, I don't really feel very good about those first 2. The first one is he wants an injunction that bans Mr. Harvey from harassing him and not allowing him to make or upload videos and comments. I mean, it just screams First Amendment violation. It's just weird. What do they call it? Prior restraint? What do they call that? Let me Google something really quick, guys. Yeah, judicial suppression of material that would be published or broadcast on the grounds that it is libelous or harmful. In the U.S., the First Amendment severely limits the ability of the government to do this. Here we go. Okay, and then the next thing is an order requiring the removal of all the videos. So now we're trying to unpublish stuff with a public apology to the plaintiffs. Like, these 2 requests are weird to me. It seems like a stretch. I guess if the videos are harmful, you can ask them to be taken down by a court order. They're already out there. They're already floating around. It's just like a slippery slope to ask for things to be unpublished. But the rest of the prayer for relief makes sense to me. Damages: $150 million, another $5 million for 1 child, $5 million for the next child, $5 million for the 3rd child. So he's asking for $15 million for his kids and $150 million for himself. And attorney fees, costs, prejudgment, post-judgment interest, etc., all the standard stuff. So this is what I was going to talk about at the end. I'm a little surprised that they're representing themselves. I really am. Mr. Kassenoff and Mr. Demopoulos are representing themselves. Which, I mean, you can do that. It's just odd because they're both attorneys. And Mr. Demopoulos' role in representing himself, in my opinion, speaks to some of the I do see some anti-physical camera access to family court propaganda in here. It just kind of like, it's a stretch to me. The stuff about how everybody in the world is attacking the kids and the school. Like, I've seen that before over here in Nevada, and it's not true. It's weird. And so to see it in this complaint kind of trolled me at first, but then I saw that the family court lawyer is one of the people representing themselves. I have a feeling that's where that's coming from. There does need to be scrutiny of family court. I do not necessarily think that the people involved in this case have done anything wrong based on what I've talked about in parts 1 and 2. But this notion that the sky is going to fall and stuff needs to be unpublished and there needs to be a banned publication order and all that, to me, that didn't make any sense until I saw that the family court lawyer is one of the attorneys representing himself. And I think that that's where that stuff is coming from. I don't know about Mr. Kassenoff. I don't think he does family law. I think he worked at a big law firm. There's an allegation that he makes like $1 million or something. I don't remember where I read that. That he's doing big law stuff, which is probably finance and, I don't know, personal injury, med malice. I don't know, the stuff where lawyers make a lot of money. And so I really don't know what to think about him, except maybe he's the one that wanted all of these factual details to be in here so that he could finally defend himself. I'm not too worried about these emails. This one does, I mean, these people have already been emailed like crazy. I mean, don't bug them, please, but I'm sure other people have copies of this and they're probably already doing stuff with that. But my channel, please don't bug these people. Don't send them letters. Don't email them. Here's a summons. And I think that's it. So yeah, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to post them down in the comments below. And I will see you guys next time.